Hey everyone, my name's Lavonne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am speaking to all of you people out there who maybe know somebody that's having a baby soon-ish, or know somebody who recently had a baby and you want to be helpful. I think for a lot of people it can feel overwhelming. You don't want to do too much. You don't want to be overbearing. You actually truly want to do something that's helpful and make yourself available, but you want to give space. And so I'm here to give you my top 10 tips for how to support our new mamas and papas and families that are having babies right now. But before I do that, don't forget to subscribe down below, give it a like, and then if you're a pregnant person, feel free to share this video with your family members or your friends who are asking how they can help, or you know will be helping you in the postpartum period. My job here is to come alongside you and continue to support you in getting the support that you need by education, but then also in supporting your support people. So let's get started. This video is actually very timely for my family because we are still waiting the arrival of my nephew. My sister is currently past due, so by the time that you see this, the baby will be here, all right? But we have been preparing to be the support people for my sister and her husband and this new baby. And I currently live in LA. They live in Ecuador in South America. My parents are in Minnesota. Everybody is here in Minnesota waiting to help have this baby and then take care of this baby. And so I thought it would be really important for me to share with you guys some of the tips that I coach other clients in and that we have kind of put into play for our family, because I know that there's this like tension between having your new family when these new families are being born literally into parenting, and understanding yet you come from this family structure. And by family, I'm gonna use family and friends interchangeably here. So whether you're an actual family member or a friend, like, just know I'm speaking to you. So whether they're one of those, you have had this previous life, all you pregnant people out there, as you prepare for the arrival of your child, and you've had this system and you've had this amazing support system, hopefully, and these people that want to come alongside you, yet you're being born into this new era of life that you get to figure out, that is completely your own, that is unique to you and your needs and your culture and your religion and your background and who you are as a couple if there are two of you. Now, if you are a single mama, I am still talking to you because you are being birthed into being a mom and parenting this child. And what does that look like? What does this new family structure look like? This is a lot for our new families. Having a baby is one of the most stressful events that you can go through in your life. It's challenging, right? And it's a joy, but it's also challenging, and we need our support people. So 2 things just to get us started. This isn't even my tips yet, but I'm giving you some bonuses, okay? Family and friends. Understand and first and foremost go off of the fact that they're going through a lot. I know it's fun and it's thrilling, but it's also stressful. And so let's give them space to figure out what their new structure looks like. We're gonna get into boundaries in a second. It's definitely coming. And then also, for you pregnant people, understand that this is a new season of life where you need support. Your village is so incredibly important. No one does things alone better, right? We are always better with other people and with the right support. And so I want to train those support people to know what are some things that could be right. Now, loose disclaimer here is that what's right for you may not be right for me or for my sister or for somebody else having a baby. What I want you to do, pregnant people and pregnant families right now, is explore what is important to you. What are your preferences for the postpartum period? What are your needs right now and leading into that time? What might boundaries look like, okay? So that's my key for you. Now, for all you family and friends, I'm gonna give you some things, some practical things that you can be doing, things that you can say to help support these new families and really lift them up and encourage them towards their transition into parenthood in the healthiest, most sane, most rested way possible. All right, so starting with number 10. Number 10 is, first of all, ask her about her birth. And by the way, these are in no actual order. We're just going down the line and giving you 10 random tips to help you out, okay? But ask her about her birth. a woman's birth experience is going to be one of those things that is like a milestone on the timeline of their life. Some women feel ready to talk about it, and other women maybe don't feel ready to talk about it, especially if something traumatic happened or maybe it didn't go the way that they planned. But I do encourage you to ask and create space for her to be able to process her birth with you. Partners, this actually goes for you too. You may be like, I was there, yeah, I know, but there's something very therapeutic, and it kind of helps to close the memory and help that transition of like, this was my launch into parenthood, to be able to recap the birth memory and talk it through and talk about the details. Ask them specifics. What was really challenging? What maybe was easier than you thought? What was a surprise about your labor and birth? What was your favorite part? What maybe stood out as like one of those memories that you'll remember forever? What did you first think when the baby came out of you? Stuff like that. Get those details. They want to talk about their birth stories, guys, and people just aren't asking enough, okay? Ask her about her birth story. Now, if she's like, you know what, I don't want to talk about it, then we need to respect that boundary that's being set, that she's not ready to talk about it. Now, that doesn't mean that you never ask about it again, but then set a little reminder in your head that, you know what, in a couple weeks, I'm going to follow up and I'm going to say, are you ready to talk about your birth story? Or, you know, when you're ready, I would love to hear what happened at your birth. And so is it okay if I follow up with you about that in a couple of weeks? And she may be like, no, I never want to talk about it. That's an alert, okay? That's like uh-oh, something went wrong. Maybe there was a trauma that happened there. But if she's like, yeah, absolutely, then follow up with her about her birth story. Let her tell her story. Number 9 is more related to pregnancy, but also could be related to postpartum, is buy what's actually on their registry, okay? If your mamas have a registry, we've experienced this with Hannah, we were very specific about her registry because they live overseas and they don't want extra stuff. I know that outfit is super cute, and I know that headband for this baby girl is like the most adorable thing on the planet. You can get it, but also understand that there are some seriously basic, essential needs that may not be as fun as the cute little headband that they actually do need, and they will need to spend their money on. Having a baby is expensive. Look at the registry, and I know like the burp cloth and the like diaper pail may not be exciting to you, but it's exciting to them, and it's really gonna be a practical tool to help support their parenting, support their time in postpartum, and give them exactly what they need so they don't have to go out and do all the extra shopping, okay? Buy what's on their registry. And then when we get into postpartum, this is number 8, but the most, I would say like one of the top things that you can do for them is food. Your postpartum families need your food, okay? Ask them if they have any food allergies, ask them if they have sensitivities, how they like to eat, what some of their favorite foods prior to giving birth, even if it's just in passing, okay? And then once you kind of know what they like, you know what they would enjoy in the postpartum period, then I really highly suggest that instead of saying, hey, can I bring you some food? That instead the question is posed, I would like to bring you a meal. What day works best for you? And something like that is gonna be really freeing for the family, because when you ask, can I bring you a meal? It's like this really nice gesture, and I know you mean, I wanna bring you a meal, tell me when it works. But what happens in the postpartum brain is, well, I don't want to be an inconvenience, and you know, but we're okay, and we don't want to seem needy or whatever. It just releases them to receive. And so ask them, when can I give you the meal? Okay. And then here's the big one, guys. They say you can bring it on Wednesday night. Perfect. What time? Decide what you is, whether it's pick up or to cook, whatever. And then don't expect to eat it with them, all right? That you are supporting them in the postpartum period in their nutrition, which is part of their healing and part of their bonding and part of them having the strength and stamina to care for this baby. But their job is to do that and not entertain, which is actually number 7, which is encourage them to bond with the baby. So these are gonna go together, okay? So when you're thinking about helping them, the goal in the postpartum period, and postpartum, I just mean the first 6 weeks after birth. Now, postpartum can extend into the first year, but that first 6 weeks is the most critical time frame where there is so much transition, so many hormones, so much new that they're trying to figure out, that they really especially especially need that support in the first 6 weeks after birth, okay? So you say, I'm dropping it off, and then I wanna encourage you to bond with your baby. I'm not coming over to bond with your baby, okay? You may bond with their baby, which is fine, especially, mind you, now we are in a pandemic, so the visitor stuff is gonna be fluid and you're gonna have to figure out what that looks like to you. So you may not hang out, but especially because you may be watching this post-pandemic and this still applies, leave the food at the door, send them a text, give them a call, hey, your food's outside, and then send it in containers that don't need to be returned. Because it's nothing worse than them getting meals every day, or if you wanna start a meal train, that's a whole other thing. But that people are dropping off food and then you're trying to figure out what containers go with who and returning containers. Like, buy some Tupperware and then make it clear, I'm coming on this day, I will not stay to eat with you. Now, if they ask you to stay with them, you can navigate them, but that needs to be on the parent's decision. I'm gonna drop it at the front door, and then I'll let you know, just so you know, you don't have to return any of the containers to me. They're yours to keep. I wish you the best. Leave them a little love letter, like, I'm so proud of you. You're doing such an amazing job. And then just let them enjoy the food and let that be enough, okay? That we're not hanging out forever. Now, that leads me into number 7, which was help them bond with the baby. So that's where anytime, this is a good framework to think through, anytime that you're thinking about how can I support you, it needs to be, how can I support you to support your baby? Rather than, how can I come over and hug your baby and snuggle with your baby while you make me coffee and, you know, make sure that your house is tidied up before I come over? That saying things like, hey, I'd love to stop by and bring a meal, or hey, are you open to visitors? And especially those of us that, like, these are your best friends. Like, they may actually want to see you. These aren't just acquaintances to the pregnant people. If you're in more of an acquaintance, go with the food option. But if you're a really close friend, say, hey, I would love to stop by, and I would like to put a limit on the time frame, which is another one of my tips. That's number 6. So put a limit on your visit. So I'm coming over. I'm gonna say, you know, and tell you ahead of time, I can stay for 30 minutes. Or would it be okay if I stayed for 30 minutes? Would it be okay for me to stay for an hour? But limiting your time with the family so they don't feel like they have to be like, okay, you've overstayed your welcome. I have to breastfeed. My boobs are so full and uncomfortable and I'm leaking. And now baby's crying and I'm entertaining you. And like, I don't want to be rude, but I really have to care for my baby. And I'm stressed about breastfeeding because I've had issues. Like, limit your time, okay? And tell them ahead of time how much time you're planning on staying, and or pregnant families, make that very clear. That if your family members reach out and they're like, hey, can I come over and see you and the baby? How do you feel about that, okay? And that leads into number 5, which is set boundaries. And this more applies to the pregnant side. So think about what your boundaries are with your visitors. How long is too long? And you may have actually lengths for different people. But then for all you family and friends, we need to really respect their boundaries in this season. You may not be used to this, but the most supportive thing you can do is help them to be independent, help them to learn to speak up for themselves, and help them to be empowered to do so. And how that happens is they say, you know, yeah, of course you can come over, but I think we're limiting to 30 minutes. That at 30 minutes, you're the one who builds that trust with them to say, you know what, it's been 30 minutes, I'm gonna get up and leave, versus wait for them to prompt you, okay? So this is kind of working in a symbiotic relationship together, okay? Because we wanna release your family, or we wanna release the pregnant family from having to feel like they're a nuisance or having to feel like they have to entertain. You're helping them bond with the baby. Now, when we talk about that one in particular, the other one is housework. So when you come over, making it really clear that, hey, I'd love to stop by for 30 minutes. How does that feel? Is there a certain time today that would work for you? Then you actually listen and you actually respect it and you leave after 30 minutes. Now, the other side is when you're helping them bond with the baby is thinking about around the house. You could say, and this is one tool, is, hey, is there anything around the house that you would need help with? Or instead, because it's kind of this fine line between asking like, hey, can I help you? And them being like, yeah, sure, I don't know how, but like, yeah, that'd be nice. Instead, saying, hey, would it be okay if I helped you with some laundry when I come over today? Or hey, I'd love to clean your kitchen. Or hey, can I change your sheets for you while I'm there? That you think about some sort of tangible way and give them an option to choose from, and then say, would that work, or is there something else? And then they can say, yeah, actually, my sheets haven't been changed in 3 weeks and I would love new sheets on my bed. And that would take like 5 minutes and it would be really helpful for them. It would be something off their plate. Or they'd say, you know what, actually we changed them yesterday, but we do have this like one load of laundry that needs to get started, and then there's one to fold in the dryer that would be really helpful. Awesome, you're supporting them to be released from the outside stuff in order for them to be able to focus on the baby. I hope this makes sense. And then when they make those boundaries, guys, we really, really need to respect them, especially with these new families. I know that you have your opinions, which I'm adding this on as a bonus, is just check yourself and your opinions. Check yourself for what you did. Check yourself that when you ask those about the birth story, that it doesn't turn into a conversation about your own birth story, that you're really, truly there to listen. And then that you would ask them, hey, I did something with my baby that really worked. Do you want to hear about it? Rather than coming in and being like, I did it this way, you should do it this way. Why are you doing that? Oh, you got those bottles. They're already vulnerable. They're already insecure and wanting to do the right thing and already questioning everything that they are doing. And then somebody comes in and can just really shoot their confidence when I know your intention is to be helpful. So that's my little bonus for you, is like, check yourself and pay attention to what you're saying and the advice you're giving, and ask if you can give it, if they're open to it, rather than just forcing that advice while you set your boundaries, because those kind of flow together. Now, as you're helping them bond with their baby, housework in general, food and housework are two very practical things that you can do. Now, if we're still social distancing, asking them if there's something around the house like mowing the lawn that you could do outside, or can I go and water your plants? Or that like if they have a big house, it's like, I'd love to vacuum the lower level for you, and you socially distance, you wear a mask, you don't go over there if you have any symptoms, and then you vacuum the lower level for them and they plan on being up in the top level or something, right? That you're thinking housework and food are two very practical things that help them to bond with their baby, are very practical things that you can be doing, giving them examples of things that you could and would do for them. Now, for those of you who want to support the parents in getting some rest and in maybe separating from the baby for a second. Now, this is gonna be parent specific. Some parents are like, yes, I need a break, here, take the baby. And other parents are like, oh, no, don't touch my baby. So ask them, how does it feel? But there's also a little bit of like a claustrophobic feeling that can happen in the postpartum period where they're like, I can't get away, especially if you're breastfeeding. And so some ways for you to bond with the baby that actually release the parents to be able to benefit from that time versus feel like they need to entertain you would be to actually set your parents up for a date moment. I'm not saying date night, I'm saying date moment. And this comes actually from the Afterbirth Plan class that I will link down below with a promo code. It's a class I worked on with Alyssa Berlin that's all about prepping you for the postpartum period, specifically for your relationship. The content, guys, is gold. It is so helpful. So I will, again, link that down below. But those date moments aren't like a full spiel where you're out and you're going to the movies and you're walking around and you're an hour out of town, that kind of thing. It's like, we want to separate and really be intentional that if you have a partner, that you have a moment to connect with your partner, to regroup, to process, to bond, to have like okay, we still exist. And then decide like, okay, let's breathe, let's remember, let's reflect, let's have a little reprieve where they can feel comfortable that the baby is really taken care of. So how would I pose this? Hey, I would love to help you guys to make sure that you have some moments to connect tomorrow. Do you have a moment tomorrow that you feel like you would feel okay passing the baby to me, that we could feed the baby, I will watch your baby, while you guys can go and have a glass of wine on the porch together and know your baby is taken care of? Right? That's like, wow, how thoughtful that they're thinking about nurturing our relationship, knowing that having a baby is a stress on our relationship. So that's one option for you to also get some bonding time with your baby, their baby. I say your baby because this baby is about to be like practically mine, even though it's not. Okay, but that like go have a date moment and I'll watch your baby, and then we're still around. That if you feel homesick, if you're like, I need to just check on him, of course, come back. I'm right here, right? I'm right available here supporting you in connecting with each other. The other side of that would be night support. So one thing that people don't think about is doing an overnight. Now, there are night nurses for this or night nannies that are going to be a professional hired support and help to think about the fact that one of the biggest strains on the postpartum period is the lack of sleep situation. And it's not so much lack of sleep, it's like the weird sleep schedules. And so we want to support them that during the nighttime, you could say, hey, I'm willing to do a night shift and help you with an overnight. I'm willing to be a lifeline, that if you guys had a really rough night, that during the daytime, so you can nap, I'll come be with the baby so that you know baby's taken care of and you can really focus on catching back up on your sleep. What a huge blessing for these families, right? And in the overnight, if you're there, the idea would be that you would have the baby, and when baby's ready to eat, if baby's breastfeeding, baby's bottle feeding, you would feed the baby. You would bring baby to mom to breastfeed. She'd breastfeed. When she's done, you take baby, burp baby, change baby, swaddle baby, and put baby back down. And then they know there's less of that in between of like the feed, the burp, the change, the, oh, now I'm awake and just staring at you, and you're feeling like you need to just stare at them the whole time. And parents are gonna sleep better because they know that their baby is taken care of versus the whole like, I hope my baby's breathing. There's a little sound or movement, and are they okay, right? Because it can be stressful for new families. And so you remove that stress for them for one night, 2 nights, whatever. I will definitely be doing night shifts with my nephew and staying awake with him and watching him in the nighttime. But that night support, especially as a lifeline, saying, hey, if you guys have a rough night or you are really struggling, I am here and I would love to offer you a few nights here and there to help you get through. Super duper helpful. And then my last tip for you is to actually check in with your families. Whether you are a man or a woman and you know somebody that just had a baby, whether this is a coworker or a friend or a family member, this is your prompt to pick up your phone and send them a loving text. Hey, I'm thinking about you. I know that having a baby can be stressful. I want you to know that I'm here for you. I would love to just listen if you want to process. I'd love to hear about your birth story and check in with you. That you become that emotional support where they have an outlet to just say, look, I'm overwhelmed. How are you feeling, right? Just asking, how are you really doing, right? And then leaving it open for the conversation to go wherever that is, that you're actually checking in with our families. Now, I will say that a lot of times families are gonna get a lot of those text messages in the first weekish after birth, but they tend to dwindle off, that you like lose your support. People kind of forget about you. It's not quite as new and exciting and all that they don't continue to check in. And so my prompt to you is set a reminder in your phone that you checked in once and hey, I'm gonna check in with you every week to make sure you're doing okay and see if there's any other way that I can support you. Sometimes that's a resource. Sometimes that's like, hey, I listened to this podcast and I thought it was really refreshing and really renewing. Or hey, what are you doing for self-care? Let's go on a socially distanced walk together, or not socially distanced if we're not socially distancing, you know, that you're forcing them to have that community and not have to think to reach out. I know even for me that like in my relationships, when you feel like you're the only person reaching out in the relationship, it becomes one-sided, and you have to give them so much grace during this time frame that there's a lot on their mind, that whether they reach out or not, that doesn't mean that they're not interested in a relationship with you or that they forgot about you or that you don't matter. It means that they're really focused on this new transition, this new life that they're living in themselves and for another human being, and that's okay. That also doesn't just happen a week after the baby's born. And so reach out at a week, reach out at 2 weeks. That's when baby blues starts to fall off. And I do have a video on that for your reference, that if mom is feeling isolated and alone and sad and down and maybe not eating or drinking as much and not taking care of herself and not bonding with the baby, etc. I have a whole video on that. But at 2 weeks, if that's continuing, then that might be turning into more of a postpartum depression. we know that doing things alone always makes it harder. And so ask her how she's doing and wait for a response. If she's fine, tell me more is a great therapeutic response of like, how has this been for you? Asking those prompting questions and really getting her going and creating the space for her to talk and him to talk too, for our dads that are having babies and our moms that are also having babies with other moms, that whatever the partner is doing, that they also are not the ones that are forgotten. How's this transition been for you? Has it been stressful? How are you feeling? And then checking in at a month mark, checking in at 6 weeks, checking in when they go back to work, that you're being consistently a source of just a listening ear. And we all know that when you're holding something in, when you're processing, I'm an external processor, so the moment I talk about it, all of a sudden it all makes sense to me, that can be so supportive and so therapeutic and really make a difference in their postpartum experience. Thanks everyone for being with me here today. I hope that was super helpful for you. I hope that you gleaned something that you can turn into action to really truly support our postpartum families. Postpartum is a massive area of opportunity right now in the education world. I will be having more topics related to this kind of stuff on my channel, so make sure you subscribe down below. But I really hope that us as a community, as a bundle birth community, can be there to offer a listening ear, to offer our encouragement, to actually help rather than it always turn into something about us. Just check yourself, myself included. I have to do that currently with my sister and not be the overbearing one that's like, who cares, and recognize that this is about their experience. So right now, guys, this is about the postpartum family's experience. If you've had kids, you probably already know that, and family and friends are a huge joy, but they also can be a massive source of stress and can actually add negatively to the postpartum experience. And unfortunately, I have heard from many clients when they look back on their birth experience that the hardest part was that family member or that mother-in-law or that father-in-law or whatever, that they let other people into their protected space and it didn't go so well. So be those people who help it go well. You wanna be around the baby, you wanna be around your loved ones, and so I know your intention is to be supportive, and it's probably a lot of this stuff you don't even realize is happening. So I hope to be that catalyst, to ask the questions, to reach out, to love on these families, to support them, come alongside each other, no matter what stage of life that we're in, that we are stronger together, that you matter and they need your help, that they cannot do this without you. And so I hope you hear that today, and I hope you can go out and take care of these families and really influence their postpartum experience. If you want more from me, you can go over to my website, bundlebirth.com. I do one-on-one coaching calls, I do virtual support, in-person support, classes, all the things are over at my website. Everything is down in the description box down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and then until next time, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you soon. Bye. But before I do that, don't forget to talk to, oh Lordy. All right, I think that was okay. If you're a pregnant person, oh God. I need the teleprompter, Brian. That wasn't bad. Okay, let me do one more. Did I get everything? Who are maybe having somebody, that was a flow.